Okay, one moment please. Yeah. T.B.Photo X1.5 TFX, and welcome back to another video. Well, the title of this video will be, as you can see for the plethora before you, why Nikon? And this is basically my entire Nikon camera collection for the time being. It might be more, it might get less, whatever. But anyway, let's get into it, shall we? Yes, why did I go for Nikon when I started in photography? Well, here's the thing. This is the camera basically that started it all, the Nikon F801 for me. This is my dad's old camera, as I've stated at numerous occasions before this one. But anyway, this camera was something that I had seen in a cupboard throughout my entire upbringing, and it was very seldomly used. I call this the press photographer's camera because it looked like something a professional photographer would supposed to use. But anyway, we never really used it because it was a little bit too complicated, but since then it has gotten a little bit more fair bit of use. So anyway, when I started, I wanted to get a very specific one. I wanted to get the Nikon D610, which is an FX format camera with 24 megapixels. But we went to a store, Audio Video, which I've been to many times before, where actually a friend of my dad's work. And he recommended that if we were gonna start out with digital and don't know what we really wanted to do, we wanted something that can do a plethora of stuff, and knowing a little bit of the family, that we have some in the family who are bird watchers and a little bit of wildlife enthusiasts and so on, they recommended to not get the D610 and instead go for the APS-C or crop sensor DX camera, the Nikon D7200 instead, which is also a 24 megapixel camera, but a little bit slightly smaller sensor. But anyway, the main reason was also, I think, was that the D610 is a mono when it comes to the on-camera microphone, while the D7200 is a stereo. But who the heck uses the on-camera microphone anyway? It doesn't really pick up that much good audio quality anyway, and it basically only picks up the autofocus noise from the camera. And as you can see, I use a cheap lavalier microphone for doing this show anyway. I do have some other audio equipment when I am doing the voiceover, but anyway, let's continue on. Well, that was it. We went with the D7200 instead, and in hindsight, which is always 2020, it seems like we may have gotten away with one of Nikon's best ever, unfortunately, crop sensor cameras, not including the D500, which is a masterpiece in its own right. But anyway, if you look at what has come after the D7200, the D7500 is, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, but I don't really see the point of that camera. It's a dumbed down version of the D500. So basically, the D500 and the D7200, in my opinion, are the only two worthwhile Nikon D crop sensor cameras. If you have a 5000 or a 3000 series cameras, okay, they're good cameras, but to what I've learned about photography from the past years, so on, I wouldn't really recommend someone getting the D3000 series or a 5000 series unless there are vloggers. If they're going to use cameras for vlogging, I know one of them have a flip out screen and so on. So if you're doing vlogs or you're mainly going to use it for video, then maybe one of the D5000 or 3000 cameras might be something for you, but that's my opinion, and I reserve the right to change it. But for my money, I think the D7200 was the best Nikon crop sensor camera to date, not counting the D500, which is in a class all of itself, since it's basically a D5 with a smaller crop sensor in it. But anyway, As I've already stated, this was the first one that started my interest in photography, and also the most happy accident for me going with Nikon, besides the fact that it was what we already had in the house when I started to become interested in photography, it is the legacy glass. I mean, Nikon is jam-packed with legacy glass. I just took it. Okay, if we disregard now the Minoltas that became Sony, because basically the Sony that we see today, the mirrorless, they're basically Sony acquiring Minolta. And we have Fujifilm, who has shut down numerous film makes, but are taking the world by storm when it comes to digital mirrorless cameras, both in FX and in full frame. Or rather, the Fuji X-T1, X-T2, and the new, full frame, medium format one. I can't remember what it's called, but you know which one I mean. I'm gonna put a picture of it. But what did I mean with legacy glass? Well, the Nikon F-mount, which all of these cameras does use, including the D7200 that is filming me now, the F-mount's history was introduced in 1959, and it has been almost unchanged ever since. Yes, we did go for, this camera, the Nikon EL that I have here in front. This is a pre-auto indexing or AI camera. All of the rest of them, the the EM, the 501, the F80, F3, F4, F801, all of them have the AI mount on them, the AI tabs and so on. The D7200 is also the last one in the 7000 series that had both the AI tab and built-in autofocus motor. And dual memory slots, yes. But anyway, Canon on the other hand, because let's get down to brass tacks, shall we? The two camera brands that are always doing a one-up on each other is Nikon and Canon. Well, both of them are great camera brands, they have great products, and they've always stayed competitive within the market of professional and prosumer, professional consumer grade camera equipment. But here's the one-up that Nikon has gonna have as long as they keep with the F-mount. Well, Canon, on the other hand, they had the FD mount that it was introduced in 1971, according to the Wikipedia page. But then when they introduced in 87, Canon introduced the EOS system, and that was Canon's autofocus system. And then they started to do the FE line of lenses. So in order to use a Canon with the Canon EOS system, you needed EOS compatible lenses, and those were the FE mounts. So anything before that, all the manual focus, great quality FD lenses were basically overnight more or less became unusable because every professional was going autofocus. But that's basically why I also, in retrospect, think I made good when I went with Nikon, because I have over half a century of legacy glass that I can use. I mean, what's filming me right now on the D7200 is not an AIS lens, because I'm using a 28mm Nikon manual focus f3.5. It's a old lens as anything, but it works on my D7200 and it works for film. So it is a very old school prime lens and it works. So it just works, and that's the thing. So I'm just gonna go, we're gonna go continue on here. So in essence, half a century of lenses to choose from the early pre-AI Nikon, for this one, to today's AIS lenses. So in that sense, I prefer Nikon over Canon just because they have stuck with the same mount for so long. Yes, it has limitations, but show me the camera that doesn't have any limitations, that is perfect in every sense. But that's basically it. And you don't really, you can go back and look at the older glass from any manufacturer. You know, you have Tokina, you have Tamron, you have Sigma, you have other obscure, you know, third-party lenses like Opteka, Vivitar, and so on. Soligor, which I have on the Nikon Nichromat EL. I mean, all of these lenses are available for the Nikon F mount. Yes, they're available in Canon as well, but it's only Nikon, in my opinion, that you have, well, I think the only exception would be the M42 mount, but otherwise you have such a plethora of great, such a great vast second-hand lens market. So it's basically either Nikon F mount or M42 mount for, you know, things like Pentax and so on that is in my book. Then there are always other brands and so on that are also very good, but that's just how I see it, that I go for Nikon because it has such a plethora of second-hand glass that is almost on par with anything else. So there's nothing else that is on par with it, in my opinion, so that's why I go with Nikon. And this is for 35mm and for DX. When it comes to, you know, medium format, you know me, I love Mamiya. But anyway, I think that David Chan put it the best. He owns a camera store in Kowloon, Hong Kong, and I think it was Techie, and you know, I'm gonna put a link to this in the description below. The Big Head Taco channel, it's a Canadian channel on YouTube here. Really great, would really recommend it if you want to view it. It's great, brilliant. Taki and John were visiting David in his store, and he talked about old, you know, SLR type cameras and so on, and rangefinders. And what David actually said was that, and I think this is a brilliant quote, and it's that digital cameras, they're McDonald's, while film cameras like these, they're like the home kitchen. They're basically for people who wants to really use the stuff and are a little bit more anoraks, you know, when it comes to what they want to use. But anyway, yes, as you know, I have been using now the F80 a little bit. Yeah, it has taken over a little bit from the 801 as my primary camera as such, but it really works great, you know. I mean, it really works good in my opinion. It has a great, you know, autofocus system. The helper light I have on this one, and it's brilliant. I've used this a little bit in town today. I went in by bus and so on, but that's another story. I filmed with my Panasonic to get some B-roll of the excursion. But anyway, I had really totally forgotten that now in, what is it, March, the annual National Book Sale is in full swing. So I went into Galleria 9, Galleria 9, which is a little bit of a fabled galleria here in town. And I went to the book sale and took a look around. I've been to some, you know, secondhand stores, taking a look and seeing what if I could find anything, but no such luck today. But I managed to get a comic book that I, yes, I know comic books is that, you know, square, but or lame, whatever you want to call it. But this one is a little bit special. Arne Anka. This is really satire in my own liking. This is non-PC as anything, and I really enjoy it. It's basically, Arne is this amateur philosopher that lives in Stockholm, and everything is, even though it's a little bit, you know, cartoony like so, but I'm gonna see if I can find, yeah, here for instance, yeah, a couple. The guy who draws this, Charlie Christensen, he really draws photorealistic, and he really draws photorealistic comics of different parts of Stockholm as such. I mean, you can actually go to these places and they look like they do in the comic book. So this is not like Duckburg, that it is a fictional city. This is Stockholm in comic book form and so on. Though a few places are fictional, but a lot of the stores, the chains that you see and so on is really there. They are not made up. They really exist. And I thought I saw something here that might be an excellent, you know, showing on why. I mean, you have 7-Eleven in here. You have Coop, which is the cooperative, which is a store chain in Sweden and so on. And I thought I saw one of those life buoys. Where was it? Yeah, the road signs, everything looks so much like it should do in reality. So if you ever visited Sweden, and I know you won't, but anyway, this is one of those comics that I think, I don't know if you can find this in English, but if it is available in English, I would really recommend it. Arne Anka. Actually, Charlie was actually sued by Walt Disney Corporation of Denmark in the 1980s and early 90s because his creation Arne looked a little bit too much like Donald Duck. So yeah, but that's another story. But anyway, also for new camera equipment, I managed actually, and the comic book I actually got for $7 or 69 Swedish on sale. But anyway, I managed to get one little piece of photography gear in the mail, and it's a little bit for these cameras. You know, flash photography and so on. I do have a Yongnuo speed light that I mainly use for the D7200 that can use ITTL and so on. But for the rest of these guys, I needed something that was a little bit more from their era of photography. And then I found on Tradera, and I managed to snag this one for 220 Swedish or $22 about. I managed to get one of these. It's a Nikon Speedlight SB24. So this one has full TTL. It works great. It takes 4 AA batteries, and you know, yeah, you can see here. The display and so on works. It goes from, what is it, 24, I think it is. Let's see, yeah, manual setting. Yeah, 24 to, what is it, 85 millimeters, and yeah, it works brilliantly. Oh yeah, I've triggered all the flashes with this one. Yeah, but anyway, it's a little bit of a good little investment for it, and as I've understood, this one will even work on the F4, which I have here. So if I need a little bit of a speed light and I have one of my old film cameras, this should probably work. I'm going to download the PDF manual from the internet, and I know that this one works. It has some good, you know, stops for the 90-degree movements and so on. That's a little bit annoying, but it's all in really great nick and it really works as intended. I do have another Nikon Speedlight before, but it was a little bit of a more simple version, but as you can see. But all in all, I think that's all for me for this time, and I'll see you in the next video. This is Tobias Bergström from T.B.Photo X1.5 to FX, and I'll see you in the next video, so take care from now on. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye.